body lies in the midst of this nothingness.
His hands are bound behind his back. His legs are bound together.
He's not moving. He's bloody. The question is, what happened here?
What happened indeed? Now, I've spent years covering what has to be one of the most incredible stories I've ever heard about. And it all began in Newport Beach, California.
Newport Beach is a beach community.
If you have more money than you know what to do with, a lot of people move to Newport Beach. I mean, Beverly Hills is fine, but you can't have your yacht in Beverly Hills.
Just beautiful, sparkling ocean, sailboats, beautiful people, not at all the kind of place where you would expect something terrible to happen.
Mary Barnes had just come to California from Florida.
Mary has just moved into this house with her boyfriend and his roommate, this guy Michael.
Now, we've agreed to only use Michael's first name and not to show his face.
Michael had been renting a room in the house for about 8 months, and Mary had just moved in with her boyfriend like 2 days before. So Michael was suddenly her brand new roommate too.
It was a 4-bedroom house, a block from the beach. It was just a nice house.
When you first met him, your roommate, do you recall what your impression was of him?
Yeah, he was a very friendly guy, kind of like a teddy bear. You kind of want to hug him.
She has no idea who he is or even what business he's in. She essentially knows nothing about this guy.
28-year-old Michael was a young businessman. He took advantage of the new laws in California that allowed the sale of medical marijuana.
He's in the marijuana business, but he's not a shady drug dealer. He is a legitimate businessman.
Yes, a legitimate businessman, but with one odd twist. Now, medical marijuana was legal in the state of California, but illegal federally. That meant that people like Michael couldn't do business with banks. That means no credit cards, no checks. This is a cash-only business.
For unscrupulous people, you're looking to get cash. You know who has cash.
It's a typical Monday night, early fall here in Southern California.
We're talking 70 degrees, clear sky.
There's 2 people inside the house. There's Michael and there's Mary.
That particular night, her boyfriend was out of town on business. Both of them were sleeping on the 2nd floor. Mary was sleeping in a master bedroom, and Michael was sleeping on a couch in a recreation room.
They could not even imagine the night that they were about to have. Right around 2:30 in the morning, all chaos breaks.
Suddenly, masked men are in this house.
Mary wakes up with a cold piece of metal on the back of her neck, and she immediately realizes it's the barrel of a gun.
A man leaned down next to my ear and whispered, "Don't worry, this is not about you." He slapped a piece of tape on my mouth, and then he zip-tied my hands, zip-tied my ankles together.
She is blindfolded and is immediately taken out of bed. As he's carrying her downstairs, she can hear the cries from Michael. And Michael is fighting for his life at that point.
They asked him once, "Where's the money?" And he said, "I have $2,000 in a sock in the drawer in my room." Not that. The $1 million.
$1 million.
Where's the $1 million? Within just a few minutes, I heard them dragging him down the steps.
Each time he hits a step, bang, bang, bang. He has no clue who this is or why it's happening. He just knows everything is a nightmare.
It's not until They hear a vehicle pull up that they realize that this is much, much worse than they thought.
They're not stealing from him. They're actually going to kidnap him.
The suspects loaded Michael and Mary into their vehicle.
Two of the men are in the back with Mary and Michael, while a third is driving.
We can only imagine the terror.
We were definitely on a highway. It kept bouncing. It was on my side.
Michael's taking it as brutal a beating as you can possibly imagine.
Do you hear what's going on next to you?
Yes, it was horrible.
They beat him repeatedly all over his body with a rubber hose.
He's also getting shocked with a stun gun.
He's getting burned by a blowtorch. And they're continuously asking for one thing, the $1 million.
It's really heinous. This man has no mercy.
He kept saying I don't have $1 million.
Did he offer them something else?
He did. He said I have $100,000 in a safety deposit box. I can get it for you tomorrow.
What did they say?
Not good enough.
She hears him grunting in pain, and this goes on for hours.
And you're saying that the whole time your roommate was being tortured?
The entire time.
Are you thinking, is this ever going to end?
Yeah.
At one point, even in blindfolds, they can tell that they slow down.
It appears they've gotten off the highway because they can hear the crunch of gravel.
I was just filled with terror. A gut feeling of these could be my last moments on Earth.
It's like something out of a gangster movie, like where you take somebody when you want to get rid of them.
I was praying. I was praying a lot. I didn't want to die.
They're out in the Mojave Desert, and it's abandoned and desolate and dark.
They can't see anybody, they can't hear anybody, and nobody's around to hear them if they scream.
They're dragged out of this van, still bound, and dumped onto the desert floor.
And they laid us down about 2 feet apart, side by side. And I thought, well, this is where they're going to shoot us.
It's out of a movie. They're literally in the desert looking for buried treasure.
Remember, he can't deposit his money from the medical marijuana business in a bank.
They believe he has buried $1 million somewhere out here.
And they're gonna dig it up, and they're gonna be millionaires. They ask him one more time, where's the $1 million?
Where is the $1 million? And for the final time, he tells them there is no $1 million.
And then the question is, well, now what?
And this is where it gets really horrible.
They decide to take things to a pretty terrible place.
If we're not gonna get our money, we're gonna take something.
That's what he said.
Is he?
I thought, am I hearing things?
And they take a serrated knife.
I couldn't believe what was happening. It was like a bad dream. He was cutting off my roommate's penis.
And singing.
And singing. Like, and back and forth, and back and forth. The guy was a total sadist. He's a psychopath, and I could do nothing about it. And there was no sound from my roommate.
Torture. Torture. Plain and simple.
and she hears the sound of this liquid coming out of some sort of a container.
I was afraid they were splashing him with lighter fluid and they were going to set us on fire.
It turns out that it was bleach poured all over the victim.
Bleach destroys DNA. So if you're planning a crime like this, you will use bleach to cover your tracks.
So after the mutilation, one of them bends over to Mary, still hogtied and blindfolded.
And they touch her with a knife. And they tell her, if you find the knife, you can set yourself free.
The guy throws the knife. He said, "Today's your lucky day."
Right? Like, thank you so much. You've kidnapped me. You've terrified me. I think you killed my friend, and somehow I'm lucky now?
Now, with the kidnappers gone and the light of dawn just starting to appear, Mary uses her knees to push up her blindfold, and still bound, she somehow finds that knife in the dirt, cuts her feet free, and rushes over to Michael.
And as soon as I pulled the gag off, he just took a deep breath and he said, "Oh, that feels so much better." And I thought, oh, thank God he's alive.
And she tells Michael, you know what? I hear cars. I'm gonna walk until I find a car, and I'm gonna get us help.
And this woman walks out barefoot through the California desert because she sees lights off in the distance that might be a road. I mean, so we're talking about real heroism here.
And it hurt a lot. I walked as fast as I could. I couldn't run. I got to the highway. I'm screaming, "Somebody please help. Somebody stop. Somebody please help." Fortunately, a police officer happened to be going the other way and saw me, and suddenly, what are the chances?
That morning I was on my way to work when I saw a woman walking along the right shoulder of the road.
He can tell that something must be wrong here.
And as I got closer to her, I could see that her hands were behind her back, and there was what looked like some white plastic sticking out from both sides behind her back.
And he realizes immediately that this is something major and something completely out of the ordinary.
As soon as I realized that it was zip ties and a blindfold, I realized that I'm gonna have to start taking pictures of Mary before I can cut the restraints off of her.
He's such a pro, he realizes that's valuable evidence.
And I said, "Officer, my friend and I were kidnapped in Newport Beach."
And she tells him, I have a friend who's laying in the desert just up the hill. We need to save him.
We didn't know where he was. She told me that he was in the mountains. And I think to myself, holy crap, I hope she can narrow it down because there's a lot of mountains around here.
Mary gets into the car with Sergeant Williams.
Mary directed us south on Highway 14 to a dirt road that led west.
We're going off-road to look for a second victim.
This is it. It's pretty desolate and uninhabited. Mary took us to this gate right here.
And we got to the gully.
Coming right now.
Before they even see the victim, they are overpowered by this stench in the air.
It was heavy. It actually made me choke. He had been doused with bleach from head to toe.
I'm an EMT.
Right about here is where Michael was laying on his side.
It's an overwhelming sight, even for a seasoned deputy.
He starts photographing, so we get to see what his injuries look like.
You can see the brutality of what happened to this poor man.
You could tell that he was hurt really bad. He was a mess.
Now Deputy Williams and his team have a job to do, and that's to try to find Michael's severed body part.
At this point, they're telling if they can find it, then they can reattach it, but it was nowhere to be found.
He didn't just sever it, he took it with him to ensure that he would suffer for that the rest of his life. I mean, imagine that.
Law enforcement at this point is left with the question of who would do this and where are they now?
male victim was laying in between the area of 18, 19, and 20.
I'd gotten in that morning, had a cup of coffee in my hand, and my cell phone rang. And first words he said was, "Dude, we've got a crazy one." And it was on.
Okay, so I guess any questions you guys have, just fire away.
Matt Murphy was the senior deputy district attorney in the Orange County District Attorney's Office. He's a fighter, and he's a winner.
And he's very good at his job.
At the point that I got the phone call on this case, I'd done over 100 jury trials, hadn't lost one since 1996. I've never had a case that has had more wild twists and turns than this one.
The location inside the orange arrows was wet with bleach.
This was a pretty big case, and I think for the prosecutors in Orange County, there was a lot of pressure to solve it.
2 victims were taken from this home. Police say on October 2nd, a kidnapper broke in. He blindfolded the victims, a man and a woman, and forced them into a vehicle.
Usually when you have a crime of this magnitude, there's at least somewhere to start. There's at least a suspect or suspects.
The victims did not have much to say to the Newport Beach PD. They didn't know who would do this and why.
I think we slept 6 hours in 4 days. We were so busy because we didn't have any answers. We didn't have any direction.
It was heinous crime, no clues.
So law enforcement begins canvassing the neighborhood in Newport Beach.
Canvases are notoriously unfruitful. It's a cold search for witnesses. The question is, did you see or hear anything unusual?
So it turns out the day prior to our kidnapping, a witness had seen something suspicious. A white pickup truck had parked behind Michael's house.
And this is where the neighbor comes into play. And really, this is the big break.
So a woman was looking out her window and saw 3 guys that looked like they were workmen because they were in construction gear. But she noticed that they looked very suspicious.
So the officer's like hoping against hope that maybe she could describe the vehicle. And her answer is something to the effect of, well, would the license plate work?
She takes down the license plate number. This turns out to be Eureka. The truck is registered to a man by the name of Kyle Handley.
So of course they go right back to Michael and say, "Do you know Kyle?" Michael's like, "Yeah, I know who Kyle is, but how would he be tied to this?"
This is a young man who lives in the area, who happens to be in the marijuana business.
Michael says Kyle enters his dispensary and starts selling him weed. And Michael and Kyle start a friendship.
Aside from their business relationship, Michael thought he was a pretty cool guy and thought he might be fun to hang with. And he did. He actually invited Kyle on a Las Vegas wild weekend, and they had a blast.
It's kind of a celebration. This is a very successful business that Michael is running. He's celebrating a good year.
They stay in a suite, they're gambling, having a good time, and Michael's kind of bankrolling the trip, and Hamley's just kind of along for the ride.
Those personal and professional connections, plus the license plate, are more than enough to raise suspicion on Kyle Handley.
So the police get a warrant for Handley, and they go to his house, and he's not there.
And we start videotaping and photographing every little thing.
Stand by. Stand by.
They get into the house, and clearly it's what's called a grow house, right? There's almost no furniture in the place, and the reason there's no furniture is they need room for marijuana plants. They open up the laundry room, and there is a plastic container with zip ties that look exactly the same as the ones that were used on our victims.
And we're starting to get excited. We're starting to think, okay, Kyle Handley's definitely potentially associated with this. And then we go into the backyard. And in the backyard, his trash bags, these big black trash bags, and then a green bag. And inside it, we find a cut zip tie. We find white towels covered in bleach.
Michael, when he's found in the desert, he's covered in bleach. His clothes are covered in bleach.
Once police have searched the house, their eyes are set on a truck that's parked in the driveway. It's the truck that they traced Kyle's registration to.
They see the same license plate number, so they know that she wrote it down, right? The first thing the officers notice when they open up the back of the truck is the overwhelming smell of bleach.
So after finding all of this evidence, we call Matt Murphy and ask him, can we charge Kyle Hanlon with this crime? And he says yes. And from there, we charge Kyle Hanlon with kidnapping, aggravated assault, and mayhem.
October 6th, Hanley's arrested.
It's exciting, but it's only the beginning. We know he has associates. We know there's other suspects.
So now the detectives focus on that vehicle. They want to know if it was actually used in the crime itself and if there's any DNA inside the vehicle that might lead them to any other suspects. And this is where the blue gloves enter the story.
Inside that truck was a pair of blue gloves.
2 blue nitrile gloves. Nitrile gloves are rubber gloves, and we later submitted one of those to the lab.
They run a DNA test on it, and they get a hit.
There's a person that matches the DNA that was in that glove, and it wasn't Kyle Hanlon, and it wasn't our victims.
And a name comes back. Hossein Nayeri.
Hossein Nayeri. Hossein Nayeri. At this point, nobody knows who Hossein Nayeri is.
I've never heard of the name before. I know nothing about him.
Now, the plot thickens. Cops immediately go to Michael and say, who is Hossein Nayeri? The answer? I have no clue.
Take a seat.
This is the only network interview of Hossein Nayeri. What would you want people to know about you?
I'm just an average, ordinary person. Simple as that.
What was a latex glove with your DNA doing?
Oh, the famous latex glove. We'll get to it when the time comes.
Once Kyle Hanley is arrested and we learn more and more details and we get more and more evidence, we begin to focus on Hossein Nayeri as the mastermind.
When you listen to Hossein Nayeri, you ask yourself, is he an innocent man unjustly charged? Or is he in fact a sociopathic miscreant?
Were you there at the kidnapping?
No, not at all.
You were not there?
Absolutely not.
Were you part of mutilating him?
Obviously not. The stuff that they say about me wanting to hurt people, I have many flaws. Wanting to hurt people is definitely not one of them. There's a lot of stuff that you guys don't have a clue about. So, when the time comes, we'll put it all on the table for you.
Hossein Nayeri has been in trouble with the law many times, and when I spoke with him, there was this air of mystery about him. There were some things he just didn't want to talk about. As it turns out, there are lingering questions about events throughout Hossein Nayeri's life.
Nayeri was born in Iran and came to the U.S. As a young boy.
Kind of the all-American story, really. He comes from an oppressive country, moves to Fresno, he gets welcomed by America.
He's the middle child. His dad was a doctor, mom was a lawyer.
Being put in school without knowing any English and having to survive that.
He became active in sports. He was on the wrestling team, very physical sport. And it is about, on some level, dominating your opponent.
I mean, he was kind of the black sheep of the family, would get into a ton of fights in high school. He was always just problematic.
And then you enlisted in the Marines.
I did.
Exercise!
Why'd you do that?
I needed some structure in my life, I want to say at the time. You could say I was partying a little too much.
In the Marines, he had been upgraded to a special position doing surveillance because Nayeri was a very smart, cunning guy.
He's a Marine for 2 years, but being Nayeri, he is incapable of following the rules.
Throughout his 10 years as a Marine, he had a lot of issues. Got in some fights, he stole some stuff, he He also went AWOL. At one point, he had dishonorable discharge. He had to go to court and fight for that to be changed, and he was just quote-unquote discharged.
Joining the Marines, he was very proud of that. It didn't work out for him. He left under a cloud.
After the Marines, he's back in Fresno. He's working as a waiter in a cafe.
He's handsome. He's 24 years old at this point, and he meets a young woman who he's waiting on, and that moment changed her life forever.
I first met him at the Mimi's Cafe in Fresno, when I was 16.
16?
And 16.
She was quite a bit younger than you, right?
Well, I thought she was 18.
He was funny and charming and cute, intriguing for a 16-year-old teenager.
I get a phone call. There must be some misunderstanding. She said, I'm not 18, I'm 16.
I was so inexperienced with relationships. I didn't know what was. I just was like, oh, this is fun.
Oh, great. You got me hooked. Now you tell me. It was a great start.
She got in this relationship at a time when she was probably not equipped to handle that type of relationship with an adult.
She comes from a very good family, and they're not happy about it. They don't really like him.
He's bad news, and the relationship progresses to the point that she's hiding it from her parents.
He had this way of manipulating you into convincing you. Your parents don't understand you. I understand you. And I was at a place in my life where I ate all that up. He would say all the right things, but he would do all the wrong things.
He started dabbling in growing marijuana. Basically, he began learning that you could make money from it.
Nairi told Courtney that he was growing marijuana with two high school buddies, Kyle Hanley and another guy named Asan Tusi. Now, Tusi's family deny vehemently that he had anything to do with the marijuana business.
Asan was really smart and with it, and just a really nice, good human being. Kyle's quiet, listen to everything that Hossein would say, because Hossein is like the alpha dog, when he's in the room, he is dictating everything.
Things are going well, their business is booming, and then tragedy strikes.
I was coming back from a casino with my best friend, business partner. I had a couple of shots in the casino.
They'd been gambling and drinking, and for whatever reason, Hossein drove Asan's car home.
And I lost control, and boom, 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 rolled over. I killed my best friend.
He's driving under the influence of drugs and alcohol. He's looking at a vehicular manslaughter charge for which you can go to state prison. What does our man Hossein Nairi do? He immediately flees to Iran.
The judge in the case puts out an arrest warrant in his name, and Nairi is suddenly an international fugitive.
You fled to Iran.
I did.
Were you surprised when you heard that he did flee to Iran?
No, he's the type that always tries to get out of his situation, whatever it is.
I've thought about these a lot. Throughout my life, since childhood, I've always avoided conflict and confrontation. It's been a part of me for a long time. It's not just about the law.
Who would ever imagine that it was a pattern we were going to see again?
This monster's back in town.
Hossein Nairi running and doing whatever he wants is working out for him. No one chased him when he ran.
He's in Iran for about a year, and he decides he's going to sneak back into the United States, which he does.
After literally fleeing the country to escape the case, Nairi got what looks like to be a slap on the wrist, essentially.
He gets a reduced charge, and he's released from local jail.
Which is pretty good, given that you were charged with vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated.
Very fortunate, yes.
A few years later, Nairi's back in town. At this point, Courtney is attending Cal State Fresno, and they reconnect.
He would pop into my life and pop out of it, and pop into my life and pop out of it.
According to Courtney, in the beginning it was fine, but it started to get contemptuous.
He'd say you're too fat, your nose is too big, your breasts are too small, your butt's not big enough. Little comments here and there that he starts to break you down as a person, as a woman, making me feel bad about just everything, and at the same time separating me from my family emotionally.
You see this very dysfunctional, sick relationship between the two of them.
It just like broke me down.
There was pushing and shoving before, but as time went on, it got worse. Apparently, the fights got so loud that sometimes neighbors would call their property manager. It got to be pretty extreme.
I didn't really know what to do. I mean, my parents don't have any idea that we're together. No, none of my friends know. I thought I loved him. I didn't realize that what I was experiencing was not at all love. I remember one time he was mad at me. He bit my arm so bad that my entire arm turned black. And then he started to get really violent. I mean, it was crazy. Throwing me on the ground and putting his foot on my neck. At this point now, I'm absolutely petrified of him. It escalated to being, weekly.
And you still married this guy?
Yeah.
You married without your parents knowing?
Married without my parents knowing. I was completely alone in this world, and the only life raft I had in any sort of way was him.
At one point, it becomes so bad that Courtney calls the police on Hussein.
You pinned her to the floor, put her in a chokehold, and threatened to kill her with a box cutter, reportedly.
Oh, no. I screwed up really, really bad. I grabbed her arm really hard. I left fingerprints on her arm. Never before have I touched her. Never again did I touch Courtney after that. Never.
He said he touched your arm once or twice.
He is a complete liar. Finally, I just couldn't take it anymore, and I called and I was like, fine, I'll press charges. He gets a deal.
He got anger management classes, and the case was dismissed.
He doesn't have to go to jail, and he doesn't even wind up with a domestic violence charge on his record.
The more he would get away with, the more of a monster he would become. His attitude was like, I can get away with anything I want to.
And you took him back.
I felt like I had nowhere to really go. And that's exactly where he wanted me, was trapped. It was more like, I could kill you, I could kill your family. I was in jail now. If he was out of jail, I was in jail. I was in a sane jail.
At this point, according to Courtney, she's basically living a double life. In the outside world, she is attending law school, on her way to a respectable career. But at home, she is totally under the control of Hussein Nayeri as he hatches this plot to steal that supposed $1 million.
In 2011, him and Kyle reconnected. That's when Kyle moved in with me, and the two of them got into, business growing marijuana somewhere in Long Beach.
So let me get this straight. The husband that your parents don't know you have, his best friend moves in with you so that they can do a pot business together.
You got it.
Courtney funded everything, and she was funding it through her parents' money.
Law school is expensive, and her parents are helping her pay for that. And really what she's doing is she is financing Hussein Nayeri's marijuana business through her father, unbeknownst to the dad.
One of Nayeri and Kyle's customers, that medical marijuana dispensary owned by the man we are calling Michael. Now, remember, Michael liked Kyle so much that he invited him on that wild, all-expenses-paid trip to Las Vegas.
He's paying with a big bundle of cash. That's a dinner bell to somebody like Kyle Hanley.
After seeing how much cash Michael is throwing around, Kyle Handley and Hussein Nayeri must have thought, we can get that money.
They do a little bit of math, and they think he must have at least $1 million in cash. It comes out of thin air.
Where in the heck did these people come up with the $1 million figure? None of this ever had to happen.
So they devise a scheme to track the movements of Michael to find out where he's putting all of his money.
They want to know everywhere Michael's going and who he's associated with.
They have cameras on Michael's home and cameras on his parents' home.
They buy some cheap GPS equipment from a website and they surreptitiously attach it to his vehicle.
He's able to follow his every move. He's able to see tracking symbols, beeping, icons.
I mean, it was an obsession. He was obsessed.
One day, Nayeri is glued to his computer screen, and he calls out for Courtney. Come look, come look.
He goes, he's going out to the desert. He's driving all over this desert.
Looking at the map, he turns to her and says, "Wouldn't that be a good place to bury money?"
And I said, yeah, maybe, sure, something like that.
He feels this is his big moment. That's the place where the money is buried.
Really? That's the conclusion you reached? Like, is it in a wooden chest? It's cartoonish.
It turns out the reason why Michael was in the desert was because a casual acquaintance was trying to get him involved in some superfluous real estate deal.
That one moment is what changes the lives for everyone. They're going to kidnap this individual, drag him out there, and have him dig it up for them to take it.
But just 1 week before they try to pull off this savage plan, a totally unexpected twist. Nayeri is driving in Newport Beach when suddenly he sees that police are trying to pull him over on a traffic violation.
He had been drinking and police were going to pull him over, and he gets into basically a high-speed chase and flees. And, law enforcement's looking for him.
But Nayeri has left something behind in that car that is soon going to become huge. And the police launch a plot not even the master criminal Hussein Nayeri sees coming. It's a trap, and Courtney is the bait.
This is where they're going to shoot us.
They can't see anybody, they can't hear anybody, and nobody's around to hear them if they scream.
This monster's back in town.
The guy was a total sadist. He's a psychopath.
Were you there at the kidnapping?
I'm absolutely petrified of him. I was living with a monster.
How can we get him in our clutches? Aha. Courtney.
She and the police are laying a trap for Nayeri, and she's essentially the bait.
This isn't over yet.
He's gonna kill me. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. Like, I'm dead.
There were headlines in the local papers that screamed, "Oh my God, they let Hannibal Lecter out." Now, this is the only criminal that I've ever heard of who filmed his own escape.
You may see it in a TV show or a movie, and I think, oh, well, those are made-up stories, but this was real life.
You want to give us an answer for that?
I'm going to give you an answer for that, personally.
First of all, we have an absolutely brutal crime. Mary and Michael were brutalized. This is as bad as it gets.
After the kidnapping, Nayeri's back in Newport Beach, and only takes a couple days before Handley's arrested and he finds out about it.
He's frantic, not the cool, calm, collected person that he was. I mean, he was like, I gotta get out of here, I gotta get out of here.
This kidnapping happens, this man is mutilated, and a few days later, you end up in Iran.
Yes.
the mastermind has fled to the one nation on the planet Earth that is never going to extradite one of its citizens to the United States. Ever.
He was gone. He vanished. We need to stir something up. Something needs to change.
Guess what? Remember the car that Nairi was driving when he led police on a high-speed pursuit? That car remained impounded.
Police realized they have this vehicle. It's tied to this name, and this name is tied to this kidnapping.
And we go and search that car. And then we find 2 surveillance cameras and 1 GPS tracker that absolutely cracks this case wide open. I put it in the computer, and the first thing that comes up is an image of Michael's house. He had hours and hours of video surveillance of Michael's house. I can't let this go. I can't let this individual sit in Iran for the next 10 years without being convicted of kidnapping Michael.
And they're pondering, how can we get him back? How can we get him in our clutches? Aha, Courtney.
At some point, Hossein said all of this surveillance equipment that was in the car is available to be, picked up. So, go down there and pick it up.
She does what she's told if Hussein tells her to do it.
When Courtney comes to claim the vehicle, she basically walks right into the case.
I literally present her with the cameras and the GPS tracker and say, is this yours? Do you want it? And she says yes.
So I go back there and I sign for it. And Detective Peters is like, you're not, taking this with you. We have to ask you a few questions.
Being a lawyer, she knows she's in a very bad situation at that point.
And I'm totally uncooperative.
Courtney, being an accessory to this, she could have been held liable for every aspect of the crime.
There's no words to describe how I felt at this point. Everything was closing in on me.
Ryan is a good man, and he's a dad. And he's got a daughter. Ryan's like, you know what? I'm just going to call her dad.
Can you imagine, for a father, what a horrific phone call that would have been, having no idea of any of it, and this is how you find out.
I talked to him in terms of his child, his girl, his daughter, his little baby is in a lot of trouble.
That must have been a heck of a conversation when you spoke to your parents for the first time.
Oh, it was a nightmare. It was the worst nightmare.
He convinces her that she needs to play ball.
The father, he got involved, and they called Lou Rosenblum, and it was a game changer.
Her entire life was at stake. She faced life in jail without any possibility of parole.
There's only one smart thing to do, and that's cooperate.
At that point, I stopped all contact with Hussein.
They schedule a meeting when we start asking her questions.
Today is May 7th. Interview with Courtney Shagarian. At what point did you find out the kidnapping was going to take place, had taken place, and who gave you that information?
I didn't know that they were going to kidnap the person. Hossein told me that him and Kyle believed that Michael had a lot of cash somewhere, and they were trying to find it, and they were going to basically steal it.
This was the first time that we found out when it started, who was involved, and how it came about.
They say, would you be willing to help us try and get Hossein back from Iran?
Are you going to be able to call Hussein again for us?
If you would like me to, I'll do anything that you want me to do.
So if this young woman will step up and do the right thing, she simultaneously gets to save her own life and ensure that justice is done in this horrific case.
She and the police are laying a trap for Nairi, and she's essentially the bait.
So this was the plan. Courtney has to convince Nairi that she wants to go on a romantic vacation with him to Spain. But his flight there would have a layover in a place that would extradite him, Prague in the Czech Republic. Now for this to work, Courtney needs to reconnect with Nairi and really make him believe that she wants to rekindle their relationship.
She knew that her freedom was resting on her getting him to meet her for a happy rendezvous.
Hi.
Hey.
So Courtney has to get back in Nairi's good graces.
It's just been 10 months since I've been able to be around you, every day, It's just not what I envisioned.
What's significant about this big acting job is that a lot of time had passed. He's not sure what's happened in that time.
You didn't know I wanted to see you? I say I miss you every single time I talk to you. Are you joking? Let's spend a couple weeks together. I mean, come on.
She's not genuinely happy. We're listening to those tapes hoping that he hasn't caught on.
We can travel all around Spain and do whatever. It'll be great.
I agree. Spain, I hear, is a nice place.
I was thinking to myself, oh my God, he's gonna sense that my voice inflection changes. If I don't laugh at a joke, anything could set him off, and he's highly suspicious.
If he realized that she was working with law enforcement, he could have her killed.
Nayeri's a psycho, and she's betraying him.
I want to see you. I want you to come and meet me. Then we can be together forever.
She has lived under his thumb for so long. If it was real, she would be singing.
I love you so much. I want to see you.
She knows she has to do that to convince him to get on that plane.
And then the night that he was supposed to come, I'm calling him saying, he's not answering. I'm like, oh my God, he's not gonna get on this plane. Everyone's gonna think I tipped him off, and I hadn't. Finally, he calls me, and he's like, oh, I'm so sorry, I overslept. I'll be there. See you very soon.
He honestly believed that he was going to reconcile this relationship, and instead, he gets off the plane in Prague and gets stripped, arrested, cavity searched, and thrown in prison.
Oh. True dungeon. True dungeon. 100-something-year-old, wet, cold, no hot water. It was just something out of a movie, Twilight Zone.
And there he waits for extradition for an entire year.
And afterwards, she not only divorced you, but she annulled the marriage.
She's good. She's good. What can I say?
There's a photo of Ryan Peters putting handcuffs on Hussein Nayeri in New York. Now, at that point, we're celebrating.
Nayeri is finally in their hands. He's finally booked into Orange County Jail.
Nayeri is about to go to trial. He's about to face justice. Not so fast.
3 inmates on the run.
Hussein Nayeri was being held in Module F, a place that was meant for low-level inmates.
What did it feel like to have Hussein Nayeri back just a few miles from where you're living?
It was scary. He sent me a birthday card, which was really scary because, he knew where I was.
Somehow, Nayeri gets access to a cell phone and begins videotaping himself in the jail.
You have to remember Nayeri's past. If he's not feeling happy about the situation he's in, he's going to take it upon himself to remove himself from that situation, and that means fleeing.
Now, according to authorities, Nayeri becomes the ringleader of an escape plot with 2 other inmates.
Bakhtian was 43. Jonathan Tew was 20.
This is literally Escape from Alcatraz. That guy, played by Clint Eastwood, gets in the grate behind his cell and tunnels out.
We use the movie analogy. This jailbreak was just insane.
Nayeri, in his arrogance, is actually videotaping this entire incident.
My name is Adam Hussein Nayeri.
Some of these unbelievable videos and photographs are actually edited and posted online by his own legal team.
A lot of people like to credit us with some Houdini escape act.
The video begins before the night they even got out.
Why did you do that? Why'd you shoot the video?
Believe it or not, it was all spontaneous.
Picture the arrogance of this. Everything that he's recording will eventually be seized by police and used against him.
To saw through a metal grate, it's not something you can do over the course of one night. So they would have had to have done it repeatedly.
They really thought they could beat the system and never get caught.
And nobody from the jail had any idea of what was going on.
I'm gonna pass on that question.
Absolutely. he and his cohorts got help from the outside.
So the official version is after the 5 a.m. body count. Nayeri, Bach, Jonathan too, they saw through the last of this metal grate.
Did you ever have machine tools, or is it just all by hand?
All hand tools. No machine tools, no.
So here he is, opens up the grate, slides inside the tunnel, and turns around, and in one magnificent moment in his eyes, gives the thumbs up to his own cell phone.
And then you stick a hand right out with the thumbs up. Right. I mean, that's hamming it up for the camera.
It is very taunting. The amount of ego that would go into making that of yourself is pretty incredible.
He's having fun doing this, and that is Hussein Nayeri, and that's him in a nutshell. Here's Nayeri committing a crime, and he's generating evidence in real time against himself.
Then the film shows Nayeri and his two jailmates walking through the innards of the jail building.
This video shows Hussein Nayeri walking people really through what this took.
His video shows how they created basically harnesses that when they needed to climb up ventilation piping, they'd swing a harness here, climb up to that, and do that over and over and over until they could reach the trap door of the roof.
The video then shows them on the rooftop.
How long did you have access to the roof for before you actually escaped?
A couple of weeks, you can say. We were able to have somebody bring us some necessary tools that we needed.
And you're doing this for 10 days, 2 weeks. Nobody notices?
Obviously not.
It seems like Hussein Nayeri is trying to expose the Orange County Sheriff's Department as being ill-equipped to hold someone like him.
We don't see on that video everything. I mean, Nayeri is manipulative in this sense as well. He's showing you certain aspects of the escape. He's not showing you every aspect of the escape.
It's unbelievable. It really is unbelievably pulled off. And managed to climb down 4 stories from this jail to the ground and escape without being detected.
I got a call in the middle of the night that 3 men had escaped from jail, and one of them was Hussein Nayeri. And I just thought, you've got to be kidding me. How does this happen?
Tonight, the frantic manhunt.
Police scouring the streets with flashlights.
Our personnel will exhaust every investigative technique and option.
There was a chill over the community as a whole, but specifically anyone who had any connection to this case.
Both the prosecutors and Courtney Shigarian were terrified at hearing that Nayeri had broken out, thinking that if he's coming to get anyone, he's coming to get me.
Police knock on my door. Boop, 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 boop. This is like 5:30 in the morning at my apartment. And I open the door. There's 2 officers there. Do you know Hussein Nayeri? Of course. Well, did you know that he escaped from jail? And I became hysterical. I mean, it's my worst nightmare coming alive. He's gonna kill me. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. Like, I'm dead.
We turn to the intense manhunt in Southern California.
The massive manhunt of
3 fugitives.
3 inmates right now on the run.
Authorities now warning they could be anywhere. He had a huge head start on law enforcement.
Yeah, like 16 hours or something like that. I'm just petrified out of my mind.
If I wanted to do something, I would have, right? I had the freedom to do it, didn't I?
You mean to have attacked prosecutors or your ex-wife or police or anyone?
Or everything included.
Ultimately, Nayeri did not get to Courtney or anyone else associated with the case, but according to authorities, he was about to terrorize someone else.
An unsuspecting cab driver named Long Ma, Vietnamese immigrant, gets a call to pick up 3 men. He's in for the ride of his life.
So they seem just like regular people hiring a car.
Yes, I didn't pay much attention. It's normal. People call me and I just, take them.
So at some point during this drive, they pull a gun on you. Do they tell you what they want you to do?
They want me to help. And then they took my car key. And they asked if I agree or not.
You have a gun to your rib, so what are you going to say, no?
I cannot say no.
I have no doubt that Long Ma feared for his life, that he didn't know if he was going to come home.
They're on the loose.
Any progress on the search for these dangerous men?
There is a national media tidal wave.
The manhunt continues. 3 violent criminals.
And the more times their faces are plastered on TV, the less chance they have of actually making this clean escape.
If you have seen these people, we would ask that you call our hotline, or more importantly, if you see them, call 911.
So they end up going to a motel.
Yeah, they stay here for 3 nights.
3 nights here, right. That's how he would sleep, with his feet on the chair blocking the door.
Yes.
So that you wouldn't get out.
Yes. The gun underneath, all over there.
He's under the bed.
Yeah.
Are you scared?
Yes, yes.
Of course you were scared.
The pressure is mounting. Maybe it was fun for a minute, but it's not fun now.
Now they're very concerned. They need a second vehicle.
They stole a white van, a nondescript white van.
The escapees may be living out of this white van.
They ultimately make their way to Northern California.
There started to be infighting between the 3, and the arguments were about, should we kill Long Ma? Should we kill the cab driver?
Do you know what they're saying at all?
Boom, boom, old man. I just heard they say boom, 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 old man.
He figures he's dead. He's never going to survive this.
Now, it's been almost a week, and for some reason, the area decides once again to start recording.
One day, Nairi says, hey, we're all going to the beach in Santa Cruz.
Nairi's legal team will actually post some of these photos and videos online in an attempt to show that Long Ma wasn't kidnapped.
And suddenly, they're taking what appear to be family vacation photos. Ma really doesn't know what's going to happen.
Are they telling Long Ma that he needs to smile? I don't know. But it's really, really strange. They go back to the motel. There is a fight between Bach and Hossein Nairi.
They have a fight. He hit him in the nose.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's during this fight that Nairi makes a gesture, slips his finger across his throat, and points at Long Ma.
And it's actually Bach who comes to the elderly cab driver's rescue. Bach decides he's getting out of Dodge.
The next morning, he told me that I'm kind of old man. He wants me to accept him as a godson, and he will consider me as a godfather.
He and Ma take the cab and together head back to Southern California, where Bach turns himself in.
Late this morning, Bach Duong surrendered here in Southern California, back at the Orange County Jail, where the trio escaped from a week ago.
In his mind, Hussein Nairi is so scary, I would rather go back to Orange County Jail and take my chances than spend one more free day with this guy. That is a barometer of how scary Hussein Nairi is.
Nairi and 2 end up in San Francisco.
Johnny here for the first time. Showed up to San Francisco. Showed up to the best part of San Francisco. Hey, Ashbury, baby.
And in the video, they're kind of camped out there in their temporary home.
They are in this stolen van. They are videotaping themselves, talking about smoking pot and eating bananas.
This is our casa right now for the moment. This is our crib. You know, all the basics. We want some bananas? No, we don't have crack. We don't have crystal meth. We're smoking weed and eating bananas.
At one point, Nairi gets out of the back of the van and somebody recognizes him.
I looked kind of bummy, homeless.
Believe it or not, there is a homeless man in the Bay Area who is a self-described news junkie.
I was reading the San Francisco Chronicle. I was reading about
escaped fugitives, and out popped an escaped fugitive. Nairi pops out of the van, said I gotta go report it to the authorities.
After 8 days, this manhunt has come to an end.
Breaking news, the 2 remaining fugitives are on their way back here to the Orange County Jail.
The 3 are back behind bars here. They are fugitives, no more.
I was very relieved, but to be honest, I'm thinking if he did this once, he's gonna figure out a way to do it again.
Nairi and the 2 others are still facing charges related to allegedly breaking out of jail, taking the car, kidnapping Long Ma. All have pleaded not guilty. Now I understand they film you every time you're out of your jail cell.
They do, yes.
And you're cuffed, shackled hands and feet.
I'm nailed to the ground practically.
Just when you think, finally, the party's over for this guy. No. Just wait.
Mr. Nairi, I'm going to ask the questions. You're going to give us answers.
Truth, please.
Hossein Nairi guarantees you he can explain everything.
He did not tell me any plan about kidnapping. This monster's back in town.
A guilty verdict just came down for 38-year-old Kyle Shirakawa Hanley.
Kyle Hanley, Hussein Nairi's co-conspirator in the kidnapping, went to trial first. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours before convicting him of kidnapping, mayhem, and torture.
Hanley is sentenced to 4 life terms in prison.
The book is closed on Kyle Hanley. Up next, Hossein Nairi.
On day 1 of trial, the courtroom was buzzing.
They pulled a large pool of people for this particular jury. Honestly, I thought I would really like to be on this trial.
I've got a lot of things that I want to go through here, as you can imagine. Now I get to control Nairi's fate.
Matt Murphy is determined to end the game that is Hussein Nairi.
Forensically, we have a very strong case. We've got Kyle Hanley's license plate.
I was able to take down the license plate.
We've got a glove that's used in the cleanup that has Hussein Nairi's DNA in it. Who's the name on the hit?
Hossein Nairi.
My impression of the defense is they had a pretty steep hill to climb.
Good afternoon.
The defense, their goal is to convince the jurors that there's not proof beyond a reasonable doubt. You only need one person, and that can hang a jury.
In this case, it would be a huge mistake to accept something as true just because it seems obvious at the start.
The defense focused on what the defense described as circumstantial evidence tying Nairi to the crime.
There was no physical proof that Nairi was present in the house where the kidnapping took place, or in the van that transported the victims to the desert, or out in the desert.
They also questioned the investigation.
I thought that there were issues in the case that pointed towards the police not playing fairly with the evidence. The blue glove was the biggest one. There's something really funny about this glove.
The defense team did a decent job of trying to paint the picture that it could have been planted.
Our assertion is they had the video surveillance equipment in Nairi's vehicle, the Chevy Tahoe, a week before the kidnapping. Once the kidnapping occurs, somebody would have said, wait a minute, we just saw footage in this guy's car that ran from us of the same house and the same victim. It wouldn't be a gigantic leap that evidence was planted on a glove to match Nairi. Did I think I was going to be able to prove it? No. But I thought if we could get the jury to open their mind about maybe something like that did happen, that would be enough to create a doubt about the rest of it.
It's an absurd argument. They didn't plant the glove, not only because they wouldn't plant the glove, but because they didn't know who Hussein Nairi was yet.
People may call him. Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, the people call Courtney Shigirian.
If there was a key piece of evidence in this, it's his wife, Courtney, because if she's believed, it's done. He's over.
It had been almost 6.5 years since I had seen Hossein, and I was just so scared to face him. You have to understand, in my mind, he's still larger than life, and the thought of him looking at me It was almost like more than I could bear.
You are the ex-wife of Hussein Nairi, is that right?
They told me, don't look at him, sit in the witness stand and scoot back so that when you're testifying, he's not in your line of sight. And so that's what I did.
When Courtney testified, I was very fascinated. I think we all were on, listening to every word that she had to say, watching body language.
So you actually saw this torch?
Yes.
Okay, in addition to the torch, did you see any other instrumentality of this kidnapping that you recall?
I saw ski masks. I saw like a fake construction worker outfit.
It was crucial for us to have the jury doubt her credibility.
When Mr. Shula was asking her questions, he really was zoning in on her character.
Your parents own an electronics recycling company.
They do.
Sometime during '09, there was an audit in that company, and it was determined that somebody was stealing money from the company, right?
I was putting on my parents' American Express charges for Hussein.
Lots of money, right?
Lots of, yes.
In the range of maybe $150,000, something like that.
Could be.
At first, I wasn't sure if she was telling the truth or not.
Nairi and his attorney claimed that she had flipped on him to avoid getting herself in trouble.
Courtney was given use immunity, and that means that anything she said could not be used against her. You then made a deal to cooperate, right?
I decided to cooperate, and yeah, that's what I did.
Courtney's end game was no prosecution, no jail, keep my law license. Most people would do and say anything to save all of that.
Who cares? Her motivation to do it, whether it's self-preservation, whether it's doing the right thing, whether it's good citizenship, the question for a jury is she telling the truth?
I was terrified of Hussein. Like there were two parts of his personality, and they were just these very separate parts. There was the nice, charming, manipulative, draw you in part, and then there was this angry, crazy, temper-driven, scary.
She really described this Jekyll and Hyde of a man that was so charming and so loving, and then in an instant was violent and abusive. I think if anything paints a picture of who he is, that really did it.
This is just the kind of defendant who would insist upon taking the stand. Prosecutors love it.
I'm just asking whether you agree or disagree.
It was watching a heavyweight boxing match.
You want to give us an answer for that?
I'm going to give you an answer for that, personally.
There's no doubt that everybody wanted to hear from the defendant.
It's a very dramatic moment. Hussein Nairi takes the stand, and now we have a whole new trial.
I wondered, well, maybe he didn't do it because why would you, as the defendant, take the stand if you were guilty?
I do.
I was totally fascinated by watching him, just trying to figure out who he was and what he was about.
You wonder, how did he have so much power over all these people? And then he testifies, and you start to see it.
I started growing as a hobby. It was very soothing. It was therapeutical to me. It was fascinating to me. I just got sucked into the world of marijuana in a science fashion, more like it than anything else at first.
Nairi had a charm, and he wanted to use it.
On direct examination, I think he did a pretty good job.
He was pretty believable.
On the stand, Nairi painted Kyle Handley as the mastermind of the kidnapping.
Do you continue to have a relationship with Kyle?
Yes.
In what capacity?
We're friends, and I also did a favor for him as far as keeping tabs on my
Nairi's story was simple. He said that he did surveillance as a favor for a friend and it had nothing to do with the kidnapping.
How did you do that?
Through using surveillance equipment.
And what kind of surveillance equipment?
GPSs and cameras.
Nayeri admits to conducting the surveillance for months.
Several, yes. 9 months.
Was this a job for you, or were you getting paid for it?
I was, yes.
Throughout all of it, he continually flatly denied knowing anything about the kidnapping.
Did you participate in this kidnapping?
Of course not.
Did you know about it before it happened?
Of course not.
His testimony of, I only watched him for Kyle Hanley, who's the real criminal mastermind, it is patently absurd. But the question is the jury believing it? And that's the scary part.
You're very emotional. You appear to be crying. Why is that?
At one point, during questioning from his lawyer, Hussein Nayeri got emotional.
I have no words. I don't know what to say.
And this is the performance of his life, because literally his life depends on whether or not he can get one or two of these jurors to feel sorry for him.
Do you remember writing that?
Yes.
Hussein Nayeri is a con man, and this is a big, giant manipulation to the jury. And that's what the game is.
Is that a reference to how you left the Marine Corps?
Yes. One of the biggest heartbreaks of my entire life.
I very rarely look at my jurors when I'm in trial. And I looked over when he was crying. He had one who looked like she was tearing up a little bit. I gotta bring her back.
You may begin your cross-examination. Good morning, Miss Murphy.
When the cross-examination began, Matt Murphy started to ask him questions.
Absolutely wrong.
Okay, Mr. Nayeri, we got all the time in the world, so you don't have to interrupt me. I'm not gonna interrupt you.
And Nayeri got testy.
We good?
I understand.
Okay. Okay, are we good? Are you gonna do that?
We're good.
Okay.
Are you gonna start telling the truth once in a while?
Sir, you may not make those kind of gratuitous statements. You know better than that. You understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very rarely do you ever see a prosecutor and a defendant go at it the way Nayeri and Matt Murphy did.
Nayeri certainly had met his match in Matt Murphy.
You set up this whole kidnapping, right?
You don't even believe that.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna take that as a no.
It was watching a heavyweight boxing match. It was just counterpunch after counterpunch, setting each other up.
You need to hear the truth, the real answers, or you want fake answers.
He's in a battle between the impression he's trying to make and his actual nature.
You're just trying to box me, and I'm trying to explain to you so you can get it.
You and I have had a conversation about these gratuitous comments. Please stop them. Next question, please.
There was one exchange where they had to ask the jury to leave because Nayeri yells at Murphy, and you thought, here we go.
Mr. Nayeri, I'm going to ask the questions. You're going to give us answers.
Truth, please.
Okay.
Mr. Nayeri, do I need to admonish you again, sir?
Your Honor is shoving down information down my throat.
I need you to please leave the courtroom.
When he's throwing out those little lines, like he's trying to challenge me and he's personally attacking me, it means that the strategy is working, that I'm under his skin, and that he's blowing it.
He'd go from this charming young man to, I'm angry and I'm not going to take this. That's what his ex-wife had described. It was jarring to see it in person.
Your marriage to Courtney was annulled, yes or no?
Falsely, yes, it was annulled.
You could tell that there was just like this negative electricity between the two of them.
My question
Based on false information, yes, it was annulled.
My question
Based on a bunch of bull.
Sir?
I would say it was hate is what it felt like. It was so intense.
I'm asking the questions.
I don't remember.
Look, man, you got to answer the questions or not. You want the jury to see the real evil, angry, violent nature of this man. The Hussein Nayeri that's in the back of a van, not getting what he wants. Man, I've just got one last question for you. You're out in the desert with Michael and cut off his penis. Why couldn't you just leave it there in the hopes that it could be reattached?
You're done.
You want to give us an answer for that?
only give you an answer for that. Personally,
It reached a point at the end where he actually threatened me.
Personally, I'm done. So he said. I'm done? What does that mean, Mr. Mayor?
I said, are you done?
So my question to
I'm
you...
not gonna even answer your question.
Okay.
You don't even deserve an answer with that.
Okay.
Nice try.
We were the only ones that can achieve justice.
Most people around the case assumed it was going to be a fairly short deliberation.
Hold that man accountable for what he did.
It became pretty obvious pretty early that it was a jury that was divided.
I just kept thinking to myself, he's going to get away with this.
The trial of Hussein Nairi has gone on for almost a month before the jury gets the evidence and goes back and deliberates. Hold that man accountable for what he did.
Most people around the case assumed it was going to be a fairly short deliberation. That did not end up being the case.
On a Monday, the jury got the case. Tuesday goes by. Wednesday, Thursday goes by. And I'm thinking, oh my God, he's such a master manipulator that whole show that he put on where he's super aggressive and threatening Matt Murphy.
Falsely, yes, it was annulled. Based on a bunch of bull. Sir? You don't deserve an answer.
It worked.
So I was thinking, what if? What if we convinced one person?
We had one juror who felt that he was absolutely innocent. When he cried on the stand during his testimony, she also cried. So that's what we started out with.
That juror had come and spoken to the bailiff in tears, saying, I don't know if I can do this anymore. There's too much pressure in there.
There was standing and yelling and screaming. It got really out of hand a couple of times.
To give the jury credit, they stuck with it.
They worked and worked and worked.
Finally, by the end of day 3, I felt that there was some change in the one juror. The logical piece that started to come around for her was that his surveillance aided and abetted the crime to happen. The way that the law reads, that if someone aids and abets, they're just as guilty.
Now we're on day 5, and we're told that there's a verdict.
You could feel the tension in the courtroom.
Verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Hussein Nairi, guilty.
Nairi was convicted of the kidnapping, the torture. The jury hung on the aggravated mayhem charge.
The jury couldn't decide whether or not he actually was the cutter. That doesn't matter. He's the worst of the worst.
It was justice in this case because he did it. It was a relief for me because he's never going to get out again. This is it.
That's right. We got you. You thought you got away. You thought you were smarter than us. We got you.
A third suspect in that kidnapping and torture case has yet to be tried. That is our program for tonight. Be sure to tune in Monday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, for a Breaking News Live 2020 special on coronavirus. Thanks for watching. I'm Amy Robach. For all of us here at 2020, good night.
Live Breaking News Special Edition of 2020.
The babies aren't just growing up. They can still get sick. And they're really important to me. I just don't want anything to happen to them.
They came back positive. Yeah, and it sucks.
From the very top.
It's bad. It's bad.
To those struggling at home.
We need one more breath.
With the day-to-day reality.
For the time being, this is the center of the universe.
Adjusting to the new normal as cities and entire countries go on lockdown. Quarantined at home and waiting for results.
I don't know when I'm going to be able to leave my house. I don't know if I've infected a lot of people.
The very latest on testing.
Bottom line, how soon can you get a test?
Literally now.
as we speak. We are told there will be millions of tests over a period of between now and the next few weeks.
And if you're infected, step-by-step guidance on what to do. Our experts live in the studio answering your questions. Pandemic, what you need to know. Here's David Muir.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for this special live 2020 Pandemic, What You Need to Know. And as we come on the air tonight, much of America shutting down. Late today, President Trump issuing new nationwide guidelines for Americans across this country in the fight against the coronavirus. The outbreak spreading across the U.S. More than 1,300 new cases in just the last 24 hours, and that's without testing fully up to speed. In total, more than 4,600 cases in 49 states, at least 82 deaths. Late today, President Trump acknowledging the coronavirus is not under control, urging Americans not to gather in groups larger than 10 and to avoid restaurants and bars. And he said the U.S. could be dealing with this right into the summer. Tonight, a major lockdown has been declared in the San Francisco area. Nearly 7 million people in several California counties have been ordered to shelter in place, to stay at home for weeks. And the stock market freefall, even after action by the Fed in a rare Sunday move, the Dow halted shortly after opening today, emergency triggers kicking in, and by day's end, dropping nearly 3,000 points, its worst point loss ever. Our chief medical editor, Dr. Jen Ashton, and a team of doctors are right here tonight taking your questions on Twitter. Use the hashtag AskABC2020, and we'll be checking in with the entire team all night. But we're going to begin tonight with the remarkable changes occurring at a rapid pace across this country, a reset of American life. I'm sure you saw it for yourself this weekend. You walk into a grocery store somewhat expecting it, but it's still a stunning sight to see. The empty shelves, millions of families worried about what's coming, trying to stock up. Parents trying to find childcare with schools closing in at least 35 states. And there's also the ongoing struggle for those who fear they have the coronavirus or have been exposed to it. Where and how do they get tested? How quickly will they get the results? Is what we're seeing in Italy and in Europe about to play out right here in the U.S.? I'll ask Dr. Anthony Fauci of the National Institutes of Health, the nation's top infectious disease expert, that very question in just a moment. But first tonight, the new guidelines from President Trump late today. Tonight, America shutting down. Late today, President Trump issuing new nationwide guidelines for the next 15 days.
We'd much rather be ahead of the curve than behind it.
The president's task force now urging everyone to avoid gatherings of 10 or more people, to avoid restaurants and bars, discretionary travel, encouraging older people and those with underlying conditions to stay home. The administration also telling people not to visit nursing homes and recommending bars and restaurants close in states with community spread. Reporters at the White House today were greeted with signs telling them to sit separate from one another. Their temperatures taken before they entered the White House briefing room. The podium cleaned right afterward.
If everyone makes this change or these critical changes and sacrifices now, we will rally together as one nation and we will defeat the virus.
You're not saying it's under control, right?
I'm not referring to it, meaning if you're talking about the virus, no, that's not under control for any place in the world.
And late today, the president warning that the crisis could stretch deep into the summer.
People are talking about July, August, something like that. So it could be right in that period of time where it washes through. Other people don't like that term, but where it washes through.
Tonight, with cases across the country climbing, several counties in the San Francisco Bay Area issuing a sweeping shelter-in-place order to stay home for nearly 7 million Americans. Residents told to only leave their homes for food, medicine, and exercise. And California's governor tonight urging home isolation for all adults over the age of 65.
Most important thing, again, is to protect the most vulnerable.
More than a dozen states closing bars and restaurants except for takeout and delivery, including New York, Connecticut, and New Jersey, who are also closing gyms, movie theaters, casinos, starting tonight. Across this country, at least 35 states now closing public schools, forcing more than 35 million school children to stay home.
Creates a lot of hardship for people, but it's the right choice.
And we have all seen it for ourselves across this country. The empty shelves from Omaha, Nebraska, to the long lines at Costco's from Illinois to Los Angeles.
Thousands of people are rushing to trying to get into the Costco here.
Lines snaking around the building before dawn. Nationwide stores running out of basic items like toilet paper and water. And tonight, this message from the Stop and Shop grocery chain announcing new early shopping hours for customers 60 and older. And despite major new action by the Fed on Sunday to cut interest rates to near zero, the Dow halted just seconds into trading today, closing down nearly 3,000 points. All of this as some of America's hospitals and healthcare workers sound the alarm, reporting spikes in incoming patients amid a shortage of critical protective gear, setting up tents outside emergency rooms. And another critical matter that remains tonight, the testing. Who can get a test, where, and how quickly will they get the results? Workers on the front line saying there may be more tests, but we need protective gear. And President Trump late today was asked about his own test he took over the weekend.
Not something I want to do every day. I can tell you that. It's it's a little bit of of good doctors in the White House, but it's a test. It's a test. It's a medical test. Nothing pleasant about it.
The White House saying the president tested negative for the virus. Tonight, the president of France declaring Europe is at war with coronavirus. The UK taking wartime measures, asking companies like Ford and Rolls-Royce to manufacture vital equipment like ventilators. And British actor Idris Elba posting this message, saying he has tested positive for coronavirus.
This is serious, Now's the time to really think about social distancing, washing your hands.
He says he feels okay and is now in self-isolation with his wife, who hasn't yet been tested. And here in the U.S., an NBA player with the Utah Jazz, Donovan Mitchell, and his own message. He is isolated after testing positive for coronavirus too, and his case highlights the need for more testing.
I keep making the joke when people ask me, shit, if you were to tell me I'm not playing a 7-game series tomorrow, I'd be ready to lace up.
It's really something. Donovan Mitchell testing positive but saying he has no symptoms, which of course begs the question, how many Americans have this without even knowing, and when will the testing finally be up to speed? Are healthcare workers on the front lines ready? Do they have the protective gear they need? Are there enough ventilators in this country? I spoke with Dr. Anthony Fauci of the National Institutes of Health, the nation's top expert on infectious diseases, just before we came on the air tonight. Dr. Fauci, thank you for joining us here tonight. You have been sounding the alarm for weeks now, and we heard the president late today issue those new guidelines, no restaurants, no bars. We heard the president acknowledge coronavirus is bad, is not under control. Can you tell the American people watching tonight who have seen what's happening in Italy and elsewhere as best you can, what we're about to see here in the U.S.?
Well, what we're about to see, David, is that things are definitely going to get worse before they get better. If you look at the pattern of the outbreak as it hit different countries and different cities within countries, and I talk specifically about China, about South Korea, and most recently Italy, what happens is that you putter along with cases, a few, and then you reach a point of inflection where it takes off. And if you look back at the history of outbreaks, you get this big, big peak, and then it starts to come down if you leave the virus to its own devices without trying to interfere with it. We have the opportunity now, even though we will still continue to see an acceleration of cases, we have the opportunity to blunt that peak and essentially make it more of a mound, which would mean less sick people and less death. But that's not going to happen spontaneously.
Dr. Fauci, I have to ask you what viewers have been asking us, and they commonly ask about the tests in this country. We've heard promises from the administration of 1 million coronavirus tests, then the promise of 4 million tests. You've already called it a failing in your words, so I don't want to go over it all over again how it began, but we're now weeks into this. So bottom line tonight, if you're an American who meets the criteria on the CDC guidance, we've been saying if you have a fever of 100.4 or more to call your doctor. But bottom line, how soon can you get a test if you need one, and how soon will you get the results back?
Well, the situation has really changed dramatically, David. Again, we admit, and I have been publicly saying that a little bit ago it wasn't nearly adequate to meet the needs. Right now, there has been a major embracing of the private sector, which is, calling upon the forces of what America does best, private industry, and get those companies and those labs involved. And we are told in discussions with the CEOs of those labs and with the state and other government that the tests that are going out there literally now, as we speak, tomorrow, the next day, the next week, are going to take that riveting up till you get to the point where there will be millions of tests per several weeks over a period of between now and the next few weeks.
Well, Dr.
I
Fauci,
tend to,
you speak of the CEOs there, and we certainly hope that that's true, but we heard from healthcare workers on the ground just today who said, we have the test, but we don't have the protective gear. And we heard from workers in some of these labs who say they're also concerned that they don't have the gear, that they need the protective gear to actually process these tests.
That's a very good point, David, and I would have gotten to that, but you're right, and I appreciate you're bringing it up. It's not just the test, it's how you can actually deliver them. And the people who are involved now in making this happen. But when you start something up, David, it doesn't go from nothing to 100% effective right away. What we're going to start seeing is that there will always be people who are not getting the test or the results exactly when they want it. But that's going to be changing rapidly over the days and weeks.
When Americans see what they have seen with these tests, they're going to be concerned about equipment, supplies, the adequate number of healthcare workers on the front line. We heard what the president told the nation's governors today, that don't wait for the federal government, for the White House on ventilators. Go get them on your own. Do we have enough ventilators in this country for what's coming?
Well, it depends on what you mean, David, by what's coming. There are about 12,700 ventilators in the Strategic National Stockpile and the ability to backfill with several thousand. I mean, if you have a situation like they have in Italy, I don't think any country or any preparation in the world will be able to be adequate to have the equipment that you need. What we're trying to do, apropos of what I just told you a few moments ago, is to blunt that response, that we be able to handle it with the equipment we have. But when you're dealing with a fluid situation like this, you're really racing against the virus, trying to get out of control as you're trying to keep it under control. The more you keep it under control, and that's where the mitigation and the containment comes in, the less you'll be in risk of running out of that vital equipment that you need.
Doctor, can you assure the American people that what they've witnessed in those images from Italy and from those hospitals won't happen here?
David, I'm always trying to be as cold and honest. I don't want to scare anybody. There's no guarantee of anything, but I can tell you we are going to try our very best with all of the resources, all of the force, all of our might to make sure that doesn't happen. But, David, it is going to require the cooperation of the American people, because the reason why we made the announcement this evening about don't go to bars, don't go to restaurants. If you're an elderly person, shelter in, stay at home, don't go out.
Yeah, it's going to take every community in this country. I wanted to ask you before you go about the reports out of France over the weekend of the hundreds in critical condition, potentially. They reported half could be under 60. What does that tell you? And perhaps more importantly, what do you know right now about who has this right now in the U.S., what the demographics are? What are you seeing in Americans right now?
Well, it's not, the number in America is still low, but we're seeing the patterns that we saw in China and that we saw in South Korea, which is that if you look at the people who get into trouble, they are overwhelmingly weighted towards individuals who are elderly and individuals who have underlying conditions that compromise their ability to fight the infection, like heart disease and lung disease. You will always see outliers of individuals who are otherwise young and well, who wind up getting into trouble, getting seriously ill, and even dying. I'm very interested in, and we want to follow up on those reports from France that say that there are several people. When I heard that, I called up some of my colleagues, some of whom I trained years ago in my own group in Italy, and I said, I'm hearing this about France. What are you seeing in Italy? And he admitted, we are seeing a few people, a minor proportion, but they certainly are there, of younger people in their 40s and 50s who are getting seriously ill. But he confirmed that the overwhelming majority of the people who get into trouble, the average age of the people who really get sick and die is 80-something years old.
But of course, we all just want to make sure that there isn't a false sense of security out there as well, which I'm sure you share that concern.
David, let me be on the record and be very, very vocal about this. We don't have a false sense of security about anything. We take everything seriously. Yes, of course, when you look at the numbers, younger people do much, much, much better. The overwhelming majority of them do well. When we start hearing reports of people who are 40s and 50s and 60s who are getting into trouble. You have to pay attention to that and find out, A, is it real? And it is real. Why is it happening when we didn't see it in other countries? So nothing is taken for granted. No false sense of security.
Dr. Fauci, thanks so much for being here tonight. We appreciate the work you're doing.
It's good to be with you, David.
So let's take this over to Dr. Jen Ashton now and the medical team, who, by the way, will be taking your questions as we're on the air here tonight. But Dr. Jen, first the news that Dr. Fauci just made there. We talked to him about the headline from France that of the hundreds of patients in critical condition, there were reports that about half of them potentially could be 60 or younger. And even Dr. Fauci said, I got on the phone, I wanted to know more about that.
Right, and that's why it's so important for us to test more and to release our clinical data from the United States patients. We need to know what our average age is here, how many are serious, how many are critical, what pre-existing conditions they had. We don't have that data out yet.
And you heard him acknowledge that again today, saying that it hasn't been adequate in this country. In fact, he said it's been inadequate to meet the needs of testing so far. But that's what's so important here. It's not just to tell an individual whether or not they have coronavirus, but it's what it could tell the medical community about where it is in the country and who's being hit the hardest.
100%. And we're expecting some early results possibly out of the Seattle cases and the rest of our U.S. cases any day now. But right now we haven't had that. And we're seeing already a burdening of our healthcare system. We need that information to help us make our decisions. Data drives decisions in medicine.
A lot of people at home have been asking us about the supplies on the front line, in particular ventilators, which we've heard a lot about. He talked about, in addition to the 62,000 we have in hospitals around the country, 12,700 that have been stockpiled. But he also acknowledged that if we were to have coronavirus hit the way it's hit in Italy, he said no amount of preparedness would be enough.
Right, and when you look at our critical surge capacity, David, it's based on space, staff, supplies, and systems. Ventilators don't run themselves. They need respiratory therapists and critical care nurses. We have a shortage of that type of personnel, but that is partially why we're hearing as recently as a few days ago, the American College of Surgeons saying postpone all elective surgery and procedures because those things use valuable resources like ventilators and masks, and we need those now.
That's a really important point. And just to drive this home, we heard from President Trump late today, these new guidelines to avoid restaurants and to avoid bars. A lot of people might be asking, is this a step too far? But Dr. Fauci, and I know you would say, this is exactly what we need to do because Dr. Fauci was talking about flattening the curve again.
That's right.
So that the ventilators, the medical workers in the front lines, that our supplies can keep up. And if you can keep the number of cases lower over perhaps a longer period of time, it gives our medical staff around this country a better chance.
100%. And Dr. Fauci himself said when you're trying to contain or respond to an infectious disease outbreak, you're always behind. So we need to take those aggressive steps now.
All right, covering the late news of the night, we're going to answer everyone's questions at home, so keep them coming. There's still much more ahead. On this special live edition of 2020, we're going to hear from Americans who have coronavirus tonight. So many have been wondering, what are the symptoms? How many are walking around asymptomatic? We're also going to take you inside the lab tonight, one of those private labs, to show you the equipment capable of processing 1,000 samples a day. But do workers conducting the tests, do workers then processing the samples have the protective gear they need? We'll get some answers on that. And just in from France tonight, the French president now saying we are at war. The alarming headlines about those younger than 60, we'll dig into that a little more tonight. And what does that tell us? In Italy, at least 349 deaths in just the last 24 hours alone. And this number that got our attention as well. In Italy, they have more hospital beds, more doctors per capita per person than we have here in the U.S. So again, is America ready? We're back in a moment. Next tonight, here's so many questions about testing in the U.S. News that private labs are now joining the fight. Tonight, we're going to take you inside one, but how many kits are available and how quickly will they now get this done? Here's ABC's Matt Gubman.
How have you been feeling? My head's been hurting, but that's all. I've been pretty good besides that.
It's become an all too familiar story. 8-year-old Adele Tyson of Westchester, New York, came down with coronavirus-like symptoms last week. So her mother, Vita, called the health department hotline to get her tested.
I called 8 different numbers, and I spoke with 8 different people. And they meant well. And then they referred me back to the original number.
Vita gave up, but then she fell ill herself. And the local ER tested her on Tuesday. 6 days later, still no results.
I don't know when I'm going to be able to leave my house. I don't know if I've infected a lot of people. And I can't tell anyone anything because I don't know.
Testing numbers nationwide are still lagging. New York has conducted roughly 7,000 tests since the outbreak. North Carolina's public labs have only done about 300. However, in South Korea, where the number of cases have now flattened, over 275,000 tests have been conducted. They've even now created phone booth-type testing sites. But back home, health workers need to be in full protective gear to administer the tests. In some cases, they're proving scarce.
So the current test that's been available up to this point has been very manual or labor intensive. So that has hindered how quickly we can turn results around and the volume of tests that can be done.
But this weekend, we may have turned a corner.
The FDA approved a new test for the virus. We did this within hours after receiving the application from Roche.
Roche Molecular Solutions and another private biotech company, Thermo Fisher, received emergency FDA authorization for new tests. Breakthroughs because of the speed. Patients no longer have to wait for days for results. Now, just 3.5 hours.
What we can now expect is that we're going to provide 400,000 tests in the coming days. So that will mean that we will make available about 1.5 million tests every month.
How did Roche pull it off?
The challenge was the timeline. Could we do it in 6 to 7 weeks, as we were being asked to do?
We did something that usually takes 12 to 18 months.
So we had to reinvent how we did things.
With the potential to be a COVID-19 game changer, the Roche factory went into overdrive. With thumbs up from the FDA around midnight on Friday, the tests rolled out over the weekend. This New Jersey shipping team loading trucks, heading out to over 30 labs across the country. And today in Chicago, Kathleen Beavis of the University of Chicago put the new test through one of its first runs this afternoon.
So they're literally dropping in as we speak. You're getting specimens as we speak.
Yes, we are.
The results?
5 positives out of 43. Yes. Again, this all goes to helping us track where the existing cases are and where we might have higher pockets of illness in the Chicago area.
Many of these experts have skin in the game. Dr. Valsamakis' husband is already suffering from heart trouble.
He's in the highest risk category group of people to die from this infection. This is personal. I want to protect him.
So many questions about testing coming into the team. So let's get back to Dr. Jen. And someone wrote, actually it was Courtney, she said, please ask Dr. Ashton, first of all, how long can one be a carrier of COVID-19 before actually showing symptoms? Do we even know the answer to that?
We don't know, David. We know the average incubation, based on a published study that just came out last week, was 5.2 days. By 11 days, 97% of people will convert to positive, but we really don't know what that range is. We still need to test more people.
And that's just a question before showing symptoms. There are still many who are asymptomatic.
Right.
We heard that from Donovan Mitchell, the NBA player for the Utah Jazz, who said he tested positive, not feeling any symptoms. And there was a question from Tim who wrote in, if asymptomatic or no symptoms, shouldn't we still be tested if we are contagious to others?
Well, the long-term answer is yes. We need to test a lot of asymptomatic people, but we're not there yet. So right now it's what's considered a tier 3 level, an asymptomatic person in the community who maybe was just exposed to a confirmed case. Right now, the real answer is self-quarantine, because the ability to test asymptomatic people just is not there yet.
Because there would be a crush of people then trying to get tested, and we already have seen what's happened in the country with the testing process so far. So again, if you have symptoms, that fever of 100.4 or above, call your doctor.
In some cases, absolutely, if you have a medical condition, but remember, some people don't have a high fever with this. So again, that's why we need to test a lot more people.
And if you don't have the fever, but you have some of the other symptoms, what are they to look out for, Jen?
Body aches, extreme fatigue, severe headache, and dry cough. If you have a healthcare provider, you want to call that person. If not, as we heard, try calling the Department of Health, but it might take a while to get through.
It might take a while, so call your healthcare provider. Don't just show up, because otherwise you risk, if you don't have it, perhaps coming into contact with somebody who does.
Absolutely.
All right. A lot more to come, Jen. Thank you very much. And when we come back here tonight, what we're seeing right now in Europe, the epicenter of this global outbreak, what we can learn from what we're seeing there as well. The French president tonight saying we are at war. Italy's death toll soaring once again, at least 349 deaths in just one day. Because of the lockdown, there can be no funerals in Italy. And what we've learned tonight about a bishop who met in recent days with Pope Francis, who is now tested positive, that bishop. Dr. Jen answering your questions. Keep them coming tonight. Use the hashtag AskABC2020. We're going to turn next tonight on this Live 2020 to Europe, to Italy, because health officials in this country are studying what they're seeing there, what they're seeing in France. We heard that from Dr. Fauci earlier. In Italy, in fact, they have more doctors and more hospital beds per capita than what we have even right here in the U.S., so we'll drill down on that as well. And tonight, the Vatican now revealing a bishop who recently met with the Pope has now tested positive. Tonight, at least 349 deaths reported in just the last 24 hours in Italy alone. The images are haunting. You've seen them. France, Spain, and Germany now locking down their countries. And ABC's James Longman tonight from London.
Italy has now had nearly 28,000 cases, with more than 2,100 deaths. And as the toll surges across the continent, Europe is now the epicenter of the COVID-19 crisis.
More cases are now being reported every day than were reported in China at the highest of its epidemic.
And now Italy's health service, one of the best in the world, is overwhelmed.
Now we are starting to discharge many patients, and this is very good, but as soon as we discharge a patient, we receive another one.
New admissions seen in tents outside hospitals to stop the spread inside. Thousands now fighting for their lives and their dignity.
We are almost at the same level as an emergency ward,
says nurse Alberto Poinelli at this tent hospital in Brescia. He says the main issue is the fear in patients who test positive, having to calm them, reassure them, and give them a plan they can trust. There can be no funerals in Italy, only names in the paper. Pages and pages of obituaries for those claimed by corona. The dead laid to rest unaccompanied, their mourning families, some of them millions still stuck at home. But Italy may have acted too late, and perhaps not strongly enough at first. South Korea was hit around the same time, but has recorded just 75 deaths. Europe holds its breath to avoid infection, today issuing a 30-day ban on all non-essential travel to the EU. The European effort, though, is not coordinated. But America's closest ally, Britain, slower than others, only today advising people to stay home.
We need people to start working from home where they possibly can.
World Health Organization advice is more direct.
Not quarantine alone, not social distancing alone, do it all.
Back in Italy, Easter services disrupted. The Pope's solo vigil, offering up prayers on behalf of millions. And every night, tributes are laid down for their frontline heroes.
We lit up candles every night. We want to pay an invisible but strong homage to all the doctors and nurses that are constantly working to help us here.
Just incredible images from overseas, and we're going to continue to follow that and bring back in Dr. Jen Ashton, who's with us. And we were talking about this on World News Tonight, just the numbers when you compare with Italy. And take a look at these numbers at home, because in Italy, they actually have more doctors per person there than we have here in the U.S. 4 per 1,000 in Italy versus 2.6 per 1,000 here at home. And then when it comes to hospital beds, they have more hospital beds per capita than we do, 34 for every 10,000 people there. Here in the U.S., we have about 29 beds per 10,000 people. And Jen, authorities have been saying that when it comes to what you're seeing in Italy and what you're seeing in France, that they're about 2 weeks ahead of the wave that we'll see here. So what does that tell you?
Well, that's exactly why you're hearing Dr. Fauci say we are behind. We have to take aggressive steps now so that down the road someone can say we've done too much. Really, time is of the essence when you're dealing with a virus like this. The other interesting thing, David, about Italy in particular, they have a different culture and society and style of living than we do. They tend to have multi-generations living together with a lot of contact. impact, and they tend to have an older population, and I think that's why you're seeing some of the severity there.
Yeah, the cultural norms. It's just heartbreaking when you hear that they can't have funerals. They're just doing announcements in the newspapers there because they're in the throes of such a horrible, horrible moment in their nation's history. I want to bring in Dr. Vinaya Kumar because what many viewers at home don't realize is that we have a medical team that helps to support Dr. Jen on the air every single day here. And one of the things that we saw from over the weekend, when you hear that we're 2 weeks behind what we're seeing in France and Italy, is the social distancing and the lack thereof. We saw a lot of people out celebrating, of course, St. Patrick's, which I have done before, but not this weekend because of the guidelines that have been put out there. And also the beaches, for example, for spring break, they've now closed down some of those beaches. But would that have made a difference if we were able to get the word out and tell people, really, we have something coming. We're just 2 weeks behind what we're seeing in Europe.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The key thing to keep in mind is that a lot of these young folks, they might think themselves as invulnerable, but as we talked about earlier, these guys can totally be asymptomatic. So you might be very close to a person who's asymptomatic and spread the disease amongst the youth. And more importantly, this is a public health concern. So those youth can actually infect the elderly, causing higher mortality rates.
Dr. Kumar, that's an excellent point. Think about our older generation. We have to protect them at the same time. And Jen, do we have any idea, because we've seen this question on Twitter as well, how many people one person can infect, what the data tells us so far?
We don't, but we know that the doubling time or the transmission dynamics of this is significant, and that basically every 7 days the number of cases doubles. So that is, again, why the clock is ticking, and these aggressive social distancing measures need to be put into action right now.
Which is why Dr. Fauci said we're in a race against the virus here in the U.S. All right, Jen, thanks. When we come back here tonight, the new normal in America, really dramatic, life-changing events. We've all witnessed it just over one weekend alone. We're with the wage earners now, with no idea where their next paycheck will come from. We're also hearing from patients living in quarantine, those with confirmed cases and those waiting for their results, how life has changed in an instant for them. Our Live 2020 continues in a moment. There are more than 4,600 known cases of coronavirus here in the U.S. Of course, authorities believe that number could be vastly higher given the slow testing. Tonight, we're hearing from patients living through it, those with confirmed cases, those awaiting test results, and of course, those under self-quarantine because they or a family member might have been exposed to it. Our own Deborah Roberts is now in isolation with her husband, Al Roker, after a colleague of his tested positive. So Al and Deb are staying home just to be sure, not unlike so many already in this country.
My name is Rich.
Hi, my name is Lisa Murr.
James Kyle.
People all over the country are living with the COVID-19 diagnosis.
I'm from Crested Butte, Colorado.
And I am a New York City resident.
I too live in Manhattan, and after recently learning that my husband was exposed to somebody who tested positive for COVID-19, we're now self-isolating to be cautious and make sure we don't somehow contribute to the spread of the virus. For famously diagnosed basketball player Donovan Mitchell, his symptoms are currently mild.
I'm fine. Things are going well. Just in isolation, got a unique setup, but no fever, no symptoms as of right now.
But that wasn't the case for Lisa Merck.
I went to Hawaii on February 2nd with my husband. We did a 3-week travel trip.
Then life changed shortly after.
On February 19th, we were getting ready to come home, and I started getting just tiny little sniffle and didn't think anything of it. And then on February 20th, my back started hurting on the left side. My muscles started hurting. It felt like somebody was stabbing me with an ice pick.
My symptoms, I know a lot of people were asking, they came on as a dry cough, which led then to a fever and this extreme fatigue. I was doing my dishes and putting them in the dishwasher, and I became winded doing that. And that's something not normal.
I feel ill Sunday night. I had muscle pain. And the next day, Monday, after I start to cough and have fever, a shortness breath.
Once I got the results, though, on Saturday, the doctor basically told me there's no way to treat it. They're treating the symptoms. So if you have shortness of breath or anything like that, go to the hospital. But other than that, really just, nurse it at home with water and rest.
March 8th, I asked my husband to take me to the emergency room because I felt horrible. I felt extremely exhausted. I felt winded. Then they did the COVID-19 test and it was positive.
To be home is rough, but I've tried to think of creative ways with friends where, we FaceTime each other, we Skype, we play games online, and just remember, we gotta just look out for each other. Hope this is over soon. We're gonna make it through.
They are going to make it through, and we really all will as a community in this country. And we have to remember that Americans are staying home now, not just people waiting for test results. And you can only imagine anxiety for them, but for people staying home, Jen. And we want to bring in Dr. Jonathan Fader, clinical and performance psychologist, as well on this, because Jen, you and I have been saying we have to help people reduce the stress level as they're just sitting in their homes and taking care of their children and trying to keep life going as normal.
Sure, and I think we've all been feeling that, and I think that what helps with that is taking steps to prepare, because it gives you something productive to do, and it gives you a sense of having some control over a situation that really can seem out of control. And Dr. Fader, I have a question for you. With all of this social distancing that we're all doing now, it can feel very lonely and isolating. So how do you emotionally not distance yourself as you're physically distancing yourself?
Well, first, the most important thing is to control what we can control. As you were saying, we feel much better if we have something we can focus on. And so what I focus on with everybody I talk to about this, it's natural to be anxious. You need something. We all wash our hands, but what are we doing for our mentality? You have to have a hand wash for your mentality. So what I tell patients all the time is to have something you say to yourself, to focus on what you control. We actually have an acronym, WIN, which stands for What's Important Now. And when you ask yourself that, you realize what's important now. What's important now is to focus on what I control. Do something to bring my breath in control. Or, we're talking about social distancing, but it doesn't have to be emotional distancing. Reaching out, connecting to others can create more meaning and help you to really focus on what's important in your life and take your focus off of things you can't control that cause more anxiety.
I like that. Win. We'll remember that.
Exactly.
All right. Dr. Fader, thank you.
No, my pleasure.
Dr. Jen as well. When we come back, the new normal in just a moment. It is the new normal in America, a reordering of American life. Mothers and fathers now working from home, and late today you heard the president saying for at least the next 15 days, avoid restaurants and bars to slow down the virus. And so Tamron Hall tonight on this American test.
So we're gonna head out and check out a local diner here in the heart of New York City. Well, what we know is within 24 hours, diners like this one will be closed, only for takeout and delivery.
I've been in this neighborhood for 45 years. First time we're closed and possibly forever. A lot of these people have been with me, some for 35 years.
So in total, how many employees are you?
200.
200? Have they confided in you about, worried about rent and paying bills?
You can see fear in their eyes. You can see it. That's the worst part.
We're on our way to Garfield, New Jersey, where like so many school districts around the country, the schools are shut down. And so many of the kids normally would get a breakfast or lunch from school. Now a parent or guardian has to line up to get those missed meals so that the kids can eat.
So you have a complete meal for breakfast and a complete lunch as well, complying with the USDA guidelines for nutrition.
Tell me how life is at home right now.
It's scary. The kids don't understand. Trying to explain to the kids is the biggest part. This is serious right now.
This is the new normal now.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna be the new normal.
We're heading about 40 minutes to another suburb to talk with a single mother, 6 children. She's a nurse. She is facing this alone with her children. I'm also, just in case they don't have questions. How are you? I'm Tamron.
Nice to meet you.
Do you want me to keep my mask on, or how do you feel?
It don't matter.
Okay. All right, how are you?
I'm good.
Good. What is your number one concern today?
Me is right now with the schooling. I only have 2 laptops. I can't have all 5 of them on 2 laptops.
Who gets to do their homework first?
She has.
You have your laptop. Do you have your laptop?
Use your mom's.
You use your mom.
Everybody use mine.
And that's how everyone will be able to do their homework.
Basically.
What scares you most now?
Me, it's just, for me, is if I was by myself, I would probably just be able to handle it on my own. The babies are just growing up. They can still get sick. And they're really important to me. I just don't want anything to happen to them.
So much fear, and you can't forget that families live paycheck to paycheck.
Absolutely. That's why we wanted to do this story. 40% of Americans have just $400 for an emergency. So when you hear the story, you need to stock up on these things, put these things in your refrigerator. Where are you going to get the money from? And that's a part of this conversation that can't be forgotten. That's what we saw all day long today, David.
All right. Now in the hands of the Senate to help. Absolutely. Finally tonight here, even amid the devastating scenes playing out in Italy, they sent out word, let's all come out on our balconies and send a message of thanks. In Italy, they set a time this weekend and they all came out on their balconies to applaud doctors, nurses, and all healthcare workers on the front lines. In Rome, so many families and their appreciation. There was this image from Spain, the fitness instructor who knew so many are in quarantine, teaching from a rooftop. And here in the U.S., from California tonight, the famous comedian and actor Mel Brooks, this is his son.
चढ़ती जुबानी है वो सूट तेरो सतरंग गो तेरी बायां विच बंग सोबे वो अखां विच सुरमो तेरे अखां विच सुरमो तेरे हाथ मेहंदी गो रंग सोबे वो कुड़ी बलेस गिए विच डोर सोनी लौंग तेरो दूर चमके लौंग तेरो दूर चमके बाकी तेरी टोर सोनी बकुड़ी बलेस गिए पलती ना देखता रहनो वे कुड़ी बलेस गिए चोरी मिलना जल, चोरी चोरी मिलना जल मत सामने आ जावे वो कुड़ी बलस गिए। जियो सुनो फुल कोई नी वो दुनिया माला कीमत, दुनिया माला कीमत तेरो किते भी मुल कोई नी वो कुड़ी बलस गिए।